A life cut short. Introducing Sherri Rasmussen. Sherri Rasmussen was a vibrant young woman with her whole life ahead of her. She was a smart and dedicated nurse. She was also a newlywed, deeply in love with her husband, John Ruetten. They had recently purchased a condominium in Van Nuys, California. They were excited to start their life together. John and Sherri had met a few years earlier while working at the same hospital. John was instantly smitten with Sherri's beauty and infectious laugh. They began dating and quickly fell in love. Their courtship was a whirlwind of romantic dinners, shared laughter, and dreams for the future. John proposed on a moonlit beach, and Sherri, without hesitation, said yes. Their wedding was a joyous occasion, filled with the love and support of their families and friends. The happy couple was excited to embark on their journey as husband and wife. Sherri was known for her kindness, her infectious laugh, and her dedication to her patients. She had a bright future ahead of her. Tragically, that future was stolen from her in an act of senseless violence. February 24, 1986 began like any other day for Sherri Rasmussen. She left for work early that morning. She was the director of nursing at Glendale Adventist Medical Center. She was excited to implement new programs to improve patient care. She had no idea that this ordinary day would be her last. Later that day, John arrived home from work to find their condo in disarray. The living room was in shambles. Furniture was overturned. Broken items littered the floor. A sense of dread washed over him as he called out for Sherri, his voice echoing in the eerie silence. He raced through the condo, his heart pounding in his chest. His worst fears were realized when he discovered Sherri's lifeless body in the upstairs bathroom. She had been brutally beaten and shot multiple times. The scene was chaotic and bloody. The brutality of the attack shook even the most seasoned police officers. Sherri's injuries were extensive and horrific. It was clear that she had fought for her life. The killer had left a trail of destruction in their wake. The Los Angeles Police Department, or LAPD, responded to the scene of the crime. They immediately launched an investigation into Sherri Rasmussen's murder. The detectives meticulously combed through the condo, searching for any trace of the killer. The condo was in disarray, suggesting a struggle. Drawers were emptied, closets were left open. Valuables were scattered on the floor, making it appear as though the perpetrator or perpetrators had rummaged through their belongings. The detectives initially focused on the possibility of a burglary gone wrong. The prevailing theory was that Sherri had surprised the burglar or burglars upon returning home. The burglar or burglars had then panicked and killed her. The detectives collected fingerprints, took photographs, and interviewed neighbors. They hoped to find any clue that could lead them to Sherri's killer. However, the investigation quickly stalled. There were no signs of forced entry, no witnesses came forward. The trail had gone cold. While the LAPD pursued the burglary theory, Sherri's father, Nels Rasmussen, had his own suspicions. He couldn't shake the feeling that something about the crime scene didn't add up. The level of violence seemed personal, exceeding the brutality typically seen in a botched robbery. Nels Rasmussen knew his daughter had had a brief relationship with a woman named Stephanie Lazarus before meeting John. Lazarus was an LAPD officer. Nels had never liked her. He felt she was possessive and unstable. He had even voiced his concerns to Sherri. Nels shared his suspicions with the LAPD. He believed that Stephanie Lazarus could be involved in Sherri's murder. He urged the detectives to investigate her. However, the detectives dismissed his concerns. They saw no reason to suspect a police officer, let alone a woman, of such a brutal crime. Section 5. The wheels of justice turned slowly. A glimmer of hope in 2004. Years turned into decades, and the case remained unsolved. Sherri's family and friends were left to grapple with their grief and unanswered questions. They clung to the hope that one day, her killer would be brought to justice. In the early 2000s, advancements in DNA technology revolutionized forensic science. DNA analysis had become increasingly sophisticated. It offered a powerful tool for solving cold cases. The LAPD had begun re-examining old cases, hoping to find new leads through DNA evidence. In 2004, the LAPD's cold case unit reopened Sherri Rasmussen's case. They hoped that DNA technology could shed new light on the investigation. They resubmitted evidence from the crime scene for DNA testing. Finally, after 18 long years, there was a glimmer of hope. Section 6. The DNA Speaks. A renewed investigation in 2009. The DNA results from the crime scene revealed a partial profile of a woman. This was a significant breakthrough. It ruled out the initial theory of a botched burglary. It breathed new life into the investigation. The DNA profile was entered into the National DNA Database, but there was no match. The detectives were determined to find the woman whose DNA had been found at the crime scene. They began a painstaking process of tracking down and interviewing every woman who had even a remote connection to Sherri Rasmussen. The investigation gained momentum in 2009 when detectives learned about John Ruetten's past relationship with Stephanie Lazarus. Nels Rasmussen's suspicions about Lazarus from all those years ago resurfaced. Could she be the mysterious woman whose DNA was found at the crime scene? Section 7. Unraveling the truth. Connecting the dots to Stephanie Lazarus. Armed with this new information, the detectives shifted their focus to Stephanie Lazarus. They began looking into her background and whereabouts at the time of the murder. They discovered that Lazarus had a history of obsessive behavior. She had been fixated on John Ruetten even after their relationship ended. Witnesses recalled seeing a woman matching Lazarus's description near Sherri's condo on the day of the murder. The detectives learned that Lazarus owned a handgun at the time of the murder. The type of gun was consistent with the bullets recovered from the crime scene. The pieces of the puzzle were starting to fall into place. The detectives were convinced that Stephanie Lazarus was their prime suspect. They needed to gather irrefutable evidence to link her to the crime. Section 8. Justice delayed, but not denied. The arrest of Stephanie Lazarus. The detectives needed to obtain a DNA sample from Stephanie Lazarus without arousing her suspicions. In a clever ruse, they approached Lazarus at her desk in the LAPD Robbery Homicide Division. They asked for her help with a case. They engaged her in conversation about a fictitious case involving stolen property. While she was distracted, one of the detectives discreetly retrieved a discarded cup that she had been drinking from. The DNA sample from the cup was a match to the DNA found at the crime scene. The evidence was overwhelming. Stephanie Lazarus, the LAPD officer, was arrested for the murder of Sherri Rasmussen. Section 9. A Mother's Fight for Justice. The Trial and Conviction. The trial of Stephanie Lazarus was a media sensation. The prosecution presented a compelling case. They argued that Lazarus had murdered Sherri Rasmussen in a jealous rage. They presented DNA evidence, eyewitness testimony, and evidence of Lazarus's obsessive behavior. The defense argued that the DNA evidence was contaminated. They tried to cast doubt on the prosecution's case. However, the prosecution's case was too strong. The jury found Stephanie Lazarus guilty of first-degree murder. Throughout the trial, Sherri's mother, Loretta Rasmussen, sat stoically in the courtroom. She listened intently to the testimony, her heart heavy with grief and determination. She had waited 23 long years for justice for her daughter. The guilty verdict brought a mix of emotions, relief, sadness, and a sense of closure. Section 10. The Price of Obsession. Stephanie Lazarus's sentence. After the guilty verdict, the court sentenced Stephanie Lazarus to 27 years to life in prison. The judge condemned her actions, describing the murder as a cold-blooded, calculated execution. Lazarus maintained her innocence throughout the trial and sentencing. She showed no remorse for her actions. The case of Stephanie Lazarus sent shockwaves through the LAPD and the community. It was a stark reminder that even those sworn to uphold the law are capable of heinous acts. The case also highlighted the importance of DNA technology in solving crimes. Section 11. The Enduring Power of Truth. DNA's role in solving cold cases. The murder of Sherri Rasmussen is a tragic reminder of the devastating impact of violence. It is a testament to the perseverance of a father who never gave up hope of finding his daughter's killer. It is a story about the transformative power of DNA technology in solving cold cases. Sherri Rasmussen's case is one of many that have been solved through the advancements in DNA technology. These advancements have given law enforcement a powerful tool to bring criminals to justice, even decades after a crime has been committed. They have also brought closure to countless families who have waited years for answers. The case serves as a beacon of hope for other families awaiting justice for their loved ones. It reinforces the belief that no matter how much time has passed, the truth will eventually come to light. The case of Sherri Rasmussen is a testament to the enduring power of truth and justice.